Hello, my name is Paul Elliott. I'm the owner and founder of ASET Services. I'm here today to talk a little bit about flood damage response and restoration on hardwood sports floors and dance floors. We're actually here at a site that had a flood, had water damage in about 9 months ago, which was the summer of 2024. The wall behind me, there's a room upstairs that had a major leak. Water came down the wall behind me, flooded under the floor, flooded across the floor, and damaged the floor. There's still cupping, there's still other issues, but we're here to do an assessment. I thought today was a good day to introduce our flood damage assessment and talk about flood damage restoration. So we've recently developed a guide that we've put out to the industry. It's a guide for restoring flood damage and water damage on sport and dance floors. It was a hope that people then end up with better restorations and more satisfactory results. So what happens is, so your floor gets flooded and they're damaged. We group the damage into four categories. We group that into cosmetic damage, just appearance. Something like a sand and finish can fix it, the floor is fully restored. We group that into structural damage. That's where something has happened in the floor to weaken the floor or cause conditions where it's not as strong as it was. That can be excessive expansion, that could be delamination. We've got a third category, which is performance of the floor. That's where the safety properties or performance, ball rebound, maybe we've created dead spots, maybe we've created non-uniformities. Maybe some other property of the floor has been compromised, a safety or performance property that was selected and specified when the floor was new. And the last category of damage that we have down is mold. Anytime we introduce water into a system with wood, the longer it is, the more likely we are to potentially have mold growth and mold within the facility. In our guide, we put together some responses. We put together phases of response. And we did this, we presented the guide because we see a lot of flood damage restoration done by remediation firms that don't understand these systems, that don't understand how they're put together, they don't understand the unique properties, where water can be, they don't understand if the water is there, what that means to the long term of their restoration. They don't necessarily understand how to get rid of that water. We developed it primarily because one of our clients was called in after the fact, after a remediation firm came to a school that had water damage, said, we can fix your problem. They set up the humidifiers. They ran those for about a month. They sanded and finished the floor new. They presented a bill for $80,000 plus to the insurance company. And then a month later, all of the cupping and all of the problems came back simply because that firm didn't know where to look for the water, didn't know or care to know where to look for the water, and then didn't know how to get rid of that water. So this guide is something we hope gets people's floors restored to the right level without wasting money. So the first phase that we have for restoration, if you have flood damage and you have water in your floors, the first phase, we're just calling that an immediate response. All we want to do in that immediate response is we want to mitigate the severity of the damage and we want to mitigate the extent of the damage. So we want to mop up the water, we want to get fans going, we want to do that. The next thing you want to do in that immediate response, if you know who made your floor, you probably want to contact your manufacturer or contractor who put it in. And say, hey, I've had water damage, what should we do? They'll have better idea for what you should do on that floor. We don't advise during that immediate phase spending a lot of money because we don't yet know what's wrong with it. We don't yet know what the total cost will be. And those costs include not just the monetary costs for the restoration, but any deterioration in the floor that we live with. Like if we've created dead spots, that's a cost. If we've created stress fractures that cause splinters, that's a cost. So until we know what the costs are, we don't advise a lot of expense. Phase 2 of the response is an assessment phase. Assessment phase is where you come in and you look at the floor what's here. What's the status of the floor? Is it bowed, is it cupped, or cracks it won't close? Have we formed dead spots? Is the performance of the floor different? Where is the moisture in this floor? So we would look at the moisture levels in the maple or the flooring itself. We'd look at the subfloor. And then the thing that people often forget is the slab. Slabs form a huge reservoir in these. We're pretty sure at this facility, with the thousands of gallons that came down the wall, that a significant part of that went underneath the vapor barrier and is in the slab. Now, once the water gets in that vapor barrier, it gets released over time, and it just continues that humidity, and it won't come out quickly because we have a vapor barrier, because we have a floor over top. So unless we do tests that determine is there water in the slab, then we don't know how to restore it. And if we restore it without the right levels, it'll fail, as an example I gave. So it's phase 3 in the restoration plan is to develop your plan. Now you know what you're dealing with, you know where the water is, you know what the total cost is going to be, you know what you're willing to live with in terms of lower performance, in terms of a different appearance. So now when you look at what's the bill, you know not only the monetary side, but the other side. Phase 4 is simple. You're going to execute the plan. You're going to restore or replace that floor. And phase 5, in the event where it's a pretty significant damage, and the result is we need to restore part of the floor, we need to take up part of it, then in phase 5, we've had clients say, hey, we want to commission test that restoration. We want to make sure that the restored part of the floor has the same performance as the untouched part of the floor. So that's a really quick synopsis of what's in the guide. We're going to shoot some more videos today during this site visit that talk about each of those phases a little more. But to keep things short, that's it. If you've had water damage and you want that guide, the link is provided at the end of the video. Go to our website, send us an email at info@asetservices.com. We'd be glad to send it to you. Contact us. We'd be glad to talk to you about conducting a third-party assessment of the status of your water damaged floor so that you can develop a better guide and have a better restoration. We hope that you've learned something today, and have a great day.